Hello again, everyone. This is Gilmer, and this is episode 30 of my Let's Play War in the East Grand Campaign. I am playing as the Soviets. I'm sure most of you know that by now, but in case anybody picks this up from the middle, they might not know it, and I want them to at least be able to understand who is on what side and a little bit of what's going on. It's still mud turns. I'm going to see if I can attack these guys. No. I'm weakening them every single time though, so it's only a matter of time, I think, before I get that guy. Will it be worth it? I don't know. Hopefully it will. Then I've got a couple of guys down here that I'm trying to get out of there. Let's see how many men are there. 15,000 and 15,000. Okay. I don't think I'm ever going to get those guys out, so it is what it is, and we'll have to live with it when the time comes if they are lost. Just the nature of the game. I'm sure, you know, if you think about it, it's not really any worse than losing a regular unit, because they got to be guards units by winning battles, by not really doing anything but getting attacked and winning battles. So if it wasn't them, it would be somebody else. So I mean, yeah, when we lose them, we lose them. But I think that there will be plenty of guards units before it's all over. More probably than I even need, to be honest. It's just a matter of starting to win it. I do know that in something like March of 1942 or February of 1942, I can start building up cavalry units into from divisions into corps, and that will help a little bit. And then as the year goes on, I'll be able to build more and more units into corps from divisions, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to that. I think that will definitely give us a chance to do a little damage to them for a change. Now, off camera, I did move most of these guys, so you're not going to have to sit here and watch me do it for a lot of them. There are still some that I did not do, but as you can see, most of them have been done. Most of them are on the rail lines, and a lot of them are still on the rail. And I think it's probably something everybody knew already but me, but if you leave them on train and keep moving them, you don't lose. The second time you move them, you don't lose any more from your rail cap, from what I could tell. Now, I might be wrong on that, but it seemed like that's what was going on. So I'm hoping, because there were some that were still on the train, and I moved them, and the cap didn't go down at all. So I'm thinking that that's probably what happens. If it is, that's pretty cool, and something to think about. And just want to make sure that that's a guards unit right there. So he has right at 10,000 men. That guy has 11,000, or that unit, and that unit has 3,000 men. So that's going to be a fairly hard stack to move out of the way. Some of these other guys, they're building up. 10,000, 10,000, 4,000, which is a little low. 4,000 and 2,600, a little low. 5,000 and 4,000. 11,000 and 4,000. So, I mean, some of these units have a decent amount of men and should be able to hold off these units. I'm not too worried about that. I'm also getting some more units into this area because if these guys start trying to make a push, I want to have some units there offsetting them. So that's, what did it say, 10,000 or 13,000? I can't really remember, but it's more than I could probably handle at this time. Really kind of, my air conditioner isn't working very well, and I'm kind of warm right now. I'm thinking about turning my fan on, but when I turn my fan on, you get this kind of wind sound, wind tunnel effect over the microphone, and I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear that, so I've turned it off, and I'm a little bit warm right at the moment. It's very humid today. I skipped yesterday, but I probably could have played yesterday because it was pretty cool. A little later on in the night, we had a rain shower at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon yesterday, and that cooled it off. And then we had a rain shower today at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But today, instead of cooling it off, it made it a lot more humid. The temperature dropped a little bit, but it made it a lot more humid, and so it's kind of warm in here. So forgive me, I might not go full 30 minutes on this one. I don't know yet. And they're supposed to be coming and looking at it again tomorrow and doing something. I mean, they got to do something. I do have a fan, and I haven't pushed it too hard, so at some point I might start complaining a little bit more loudly. But I grew up in a very humid area and very hot area in the South when I was younger, and so I'm kind of used to it. A fan will work for me even up into the 90s. I can still live with a fan just being on and the windows open. But when I do these videos, I don't like having the windows open and people listening to what I'm saying. I'm trying to not talk too loudly, but I don't want the people walking by outside hearing me, and because they have no clue what's going on in here. They think I'm talking to myself. But anyway, I digress. I'm going to go ahead and run this turn, I guess, and see what happens. It's November of 1941. It's time for the blizzards to hit, hopefully. Or was it? No, it was December in War in Russia is when the blizzards hit in that game. So that's probably when the blizzards will hit in this game. Now, we'll probably have snow. We will probably have snow in November at some point, but it probably won't be blizzard-like conditions. Yeah, see, Eventually that unit's probably gonna back off, give up the fight. I mean, 52,000 men going against 14 or 15,000 men. That doesn't bode well for the long-term keeping of Osinevitz, which is the town they're in. My friend Bullaskapaflo said he was surprised I was able to keep Moscow. Hey, I was surprised myself. They looked like they were coming fast. See, these guys down here are not doing very well. 100,000 men. Wow. Wow. should get like extra points when you're attacked by over 100,000 men and you win the battle. Damn. That's just a fortified region. Really looking forward to the blizzard of 41. And I've mentioned before, and it's been confirmed several times now, that Gary Grigsby, who was the main programmer, whatever, lead designer of this game, is working with 2x3 to bring out War in the East 2. They're working on that right now, as well as Steel Tigers and a bunch of other titles that they didn't name, because they say they don't like to name them too early in the production, because then the press starts getting a hold of everything and starting, to write articles and stuff, and a lot of times the games aren't even in alpha stage, so they don't like to bring out games as early as they used to. What are we doing here? This up here looks good. We can take these guys off the train. And of course they can't move anywhere because I don't really want to put that tank in this swamp area. So this area, I believe, is pretty much guys and take them out. Probably not, but we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot on every single turn. Yeah, they should give it to us. 61,000 against 13, and they're completely surrounded. Come on. Down here, these guys keep getting pushed back. 9,000 men, 10,000 men. I'm pretty sure this is the area that they keep getting pushed back, so we're gonna move this guy out. Move him there. I'm gonna beef this area up a little bit. 30,000 men, they should be able to hold at this point. Let's take these guys off their train. 4,000 men each. It's not ideal, but we'll live with it. Did they push? Yeah, they're kind of pushing right there. I don't like that at all. Did you see that? I lost my HQ. There's some pretty poor ass planning on my part. pulling these guys back a little bit. Just because... Is that my guy? No, that's a Romanian. Yeah. I just don't like this. This looks like it could become a pocket very easily, and I am not about to let them pocket me, if at all possible. These guys can't move. They're 0-0. They're in light woods. Oh well. You're gonna have to hold or do whatever you can to make sure that you're still a viable unit at the end. It's probably not ever gonna happen. Artillery unit in there. Now let's move 3 guys in there. Next time we'll do 3 on, or 9 on 1. See if that doesn't work. Excuse me. I also get a little stuffed up when it's warm like this. Not a big deal. I'm not sick or anything. This area looks a little... Yeah. Although those 2 guys are cavalry, I don't know if they're good or bad in swamp. I'd imagine it's similar to the tanks, only not quite as bad, but I bet they fight worse than infantry, but slightly better than tanks in the swamp area. Because, I mean, horses don't like the swamp, obviously. You know, you don't know where you're stepping. So I could see them having a command malice. I'm bringing back the old word malice. A command malice while fighting in a swamp area. Malice as in M-A-L-U-S, which means a command penalty or so for fighting in a swamp area. Oh, and of course I've got all these guys that I should move up. Damn. You know what? I'm going to put you on. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to move all these units because I got to move them up. If I don't move them up, I lose that turn. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and I'll come right back. Hello again, everyone. I'm back, and I have done my moves to move these reserve units coming up, and as you can see, I've moved a lot of them, and went from 94,000 or so in rail cap down to 40,000, and I'm getting these troops up. And as you can see, I put a lot of units around in here. I put a lot of units there. And then I moved a lot of units up into this area, trying to make sure that these guys don't break out any more than they have. And I'm moving a lot of these units up. I mean, as I've mentioned before, if they can get to Moscow through this, then more power to them. They deserve whatever they can win if they do that. Now, I'm not taking them off the rails yet, just because I will eventually, probably next turn. But I just want to make sure that I don't want to move them anywhere else, because it pretty much ran true that all the units that I left on train were, they didn't use up the rail cap when I move them again. So that's something I should have, probably should have known already. and it's something I will take advantage of. Let's, one thing, I always say one thing, but one thing we haven't done in a long time is, okay, no, forecast snow, forecast snow, forecast snow, forecast snow. So next term we're going to have snow. We have mud now. We're going to have snow next. Isolating units, yeah, I know about those. Leaders, okay, look at this. Ivan Bolden was promoted to General Polkovnik. I don't know what that means, but it's a promotion. And General Lieutenant or Lieutenant General, obviously. Yosef Korun was promoted to General Polkovnik. That's probably Major General. I don't know for a fact if that's what that is, but I think that the next step above Lieutenant General is Major General. I could be wrong, or it could be Brigadier General. I don't really know for sure, but obviously it's higher than General Lieutenant or Lieutenant General. Upgrades and renames. Okay, so here we have some of these units being renamed as Guards, Tanks, and Guards Division. Renamed the Caucasus Front, Caucasus Front, whatever. It's where Caucasian comes from. 3rd Tank Brigade was upgraded to 41B Tank Brigade. I think that means that I can reconstitute them into a tank division. Although these all say 41B. That's weird. Aircraft upgrades. SB2 to PE2, SB2 to PE2. So this kind of thing happens constantly. Divisions get upgraded. Not lieutenants, but generals get promoted constantly. Generals get demoted or recalled or whatever they say when they fire them. The aircraft gets upgraded, the tanks get upgraded. I see that my pilots are flying training missions, and then it says the movement of supplies around the map. Lend-Lease, I got 300 vehicles added to the pool from Lend-Lease and 1,000 supplies from Lend-Lease. Lend-Lease, as probably most of you know, was an ally program, mostly, I think, done by the United States, in which they essentially lent or loaned, I guess. Yeah, it's been a long day. Essentially loaned materials, vehicles, tanks, artillery guns, things like that, supplies to the Soviets to help them fight their war, because the Soviets were hurting for material for a long time, until they were able to get all their production up and running in the Urals and all the other places where they moved their factories. So we helped them out a little bit. And I actually read in a book one time, and it was a fiction book, but it was a fiction book written by a guy that is known for the facts that he puts in his books, logistic facts type stuff. And he mentioned in that book that the Soviets, even as late as the 80s, still had artillery that we had loaned them in 1940 something, in warehouses in case they ever needed them again. It was, we gave them a lot of stuff, and and they helped the war. Obviously, they I don't think anybody would deny that the Soviet Union took the brunt of the German war machine. Now, you could also claim or point out that the Soviets initially signed an agreement with Germany you know, a non, you know, essentially an agreement that they wouldn't attack each other. So, you know, you can kind of say that the Soviets brought it on themselves, that they got into bed with Germany, and then Germany turned around and bit them. You know, and I'm sure that, you know, Soviets or Russians now probably don't like to hear that, but it is true that they signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, and then they split up Poland together. Germany took the western half of Poland, and essentially the Soviets took the eastern half. And so, you know, you could argue that a lot of the stuff that happened to the Soviets, they brought on themselves. But regardless, they did take the brunt of the German war machine. Ground element conversions. Okay, converted to sapper squads. That's weird. I don't know that I would want to do that, but refit replacements. Oh, nice. Refit replacements. Normal replacements. It'd take me a long time to delve into this. Hopefully they're getting rid of all these T-26s and BT-2s and T-28s and replacing them with T-34s and, you know, T-34-41, KV-1s, KV-2s, Valentines. These are all much better tanks than the T-26s and the T-38s. Excuse me. The BT-5s and the BT-7s. Those are all tanks from about here. Well, yeah, from about here all the way down to about probably here. Those tanks were all pretty much obsolete, except maybe the Matilda too, although it was pretty close to being obsolete by that time, I think. And so you want to get them out of the front lines as soon as possible. Axis combat, they lost 154,000 men. Wow. Attrition, 39,000. Soviets lost 442,000. So as you can see, 154 to 442, that's pretty significant. But the Soviets had a lot more manpower to absorb those kind of losses. You know, it's essentially 43 to 1, and the Soviets could sustain 3-1 losses, to be honest, and still be able to fight the war. They were, I think they lost much larger than this historically. And let's see, current national morale: Germany 74, Soviet 45. Damn, that's not good. Theirs is pretty high comparatively, although that seems kind of low too. Germany 74, but ours is at 45. Really? What's the? So they're at 181 victory points at this point. Let's see. Show production screen. This doesn't really. It's really hard to look at this and make too much out of it. It just says they built that many units or whatever, and this is the total units. The beginning pool. No, that's not right, because that's 45 and that's 4. Oh, the units. Okay. So the divisions or brigades that received. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Show reinforcement withdrawal schedule. We're still getting some reinforcements, as you can see. Oh boy. A lot of reinforcements, to be honest with you, but it takes a long time to get them to the front. That's the weather, and as we've already determined, it's mud in every single theater. We've looked at the losses, I think, or maybe we didn't. We looked at them last turn. 1,714,000 to 461,000. Most of my losses came in the first few turns. It's starting to not necessarily even out, but it's getting a lot better. As you can see, I don't know what the difference is between the first number and the number in parentheses, but we have 5 million. If the one in parentheses is the actual numbers of combat troops that you can pull on the pool or whatever, we have 5,815,000 compared to Germany's 3,392,000, and honestly, that number should go up at some point because I know that they had at least 8 to 10 million at one point. Germany's will I think it goes up for a little while, but eventually will start the total left available will start coming down because they can't keep up the kind of losses that they've been incurring and still, have their manpower going up instead of down. These are all my generals. Stavka's Boris Shaposhnikov, Marshal, General, Marshal of the Soviet Union, I think that is. And then Lieutenant General, I'm going to have to look up that. I'm going to look that up. General of the Army, I guess. I'll look up these terms so I'll know a little bit more. Oh, that's a Major General. So I don't know what Pukovnov General means. I'll look those up because I want to know just for my own satisfaction. But anyway, we're running on about 32 minutes, and I think I will call this episode to a close. Thank you very much for watching. If there's anything you want to look at or have me discuss, I will very much try to work it in next time. Victory locations. Doesn't really show anything, does it? Wait a minute. Let's do this. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. I don't think this has victory locations or I think it all boils down to if Berlin is taken or if Moscow is taken, or Moscow and Leningrad is taken. Because as you can see, it says Berlin captured before 1945. So the Soviet victory is reliant on Berlin no matter what. The Axis victory is victory points. How they determine victory points, I do not know, because they have 181 right now. It's not been going up that quickly in the last few turns, but it is still going up. So, I need to turn things around because 181 is not very far off from, I think it's just as soon as they hit 290, they get a decisive victory. Anything less, they have to wait till the ending turn. So I got to make sure that they don't hit 290. So there you go. There's Berlin. That's the main objective. And we're way over here. Hopefully during the winter months, when blizzard is here, we can start really wrecking the hell out of some of their formations. But anyway, time to stop rambling. I've been talking for 3 minutes after I said I called the episode to a close. So I will see you